eyesight, benefiting the 99%, shining a guiding light. Generational turnaround, open doors wide for more people to thrive. No one left behind, seeking truth, unraveling the wild. One wrong decision to turn around, we defy. Generational turnaround, a podcast of truth, bringing undeniable proof. In a world where decisions cast a shadow, generational turnaround, we rise to follow. For the young, the purpose denied. We bring truth, proof, no longer to hide. Generational turnaround, we're on the scene. Interview.
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Generational Turnaround Podcast, where we seek the truth and then we bring you the proof. And the proof comes from the guests that I invite to join us because they are professionals in their fields. And today I have Fanny, and she's going to join us in just a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Hi.
Hello, Fanny. Hello, baby. And I had to apologize to Fanny because y'all know when I everything gets out of whack, I'm out of whack. But we're gonna catch it up right now. Okay, Fanny, thank you, baby. And your last name is Tristan, right?
Yes, Fanny Tristan, licensed clinical social worker.
Okay. And I just love that you had sisterhood. Let's start there.
Sure.
No. Don't stop there. Don't start there. Hold on. I can't even, we can't do nothing until I pray us in. All right.
Okay.
Okay. We are gathered in spiritual today, lifting up everybody on this podcast. May God's love and light shine upon each and every one of us. We are asking for your healing touch on those who are suffering, comfort for those who are grieving, and strength for those who are weary. May your peace envelop every soul, reminding us that we are never alone. Thank you. As we share this moment, may we grow together in faith and love, trusting your guidance and your grace. In Jesus' name, thank you, Lord. Thank you. All right, everybody, let's get this day started. Now, Fanny, first thing I want to ask you, what do you mean by sisterhood?
So, sisterhood is the idea that you are able to gather with other women as a source of support and guidance throughout your day-to-day life.
Hmm. Okay, so are we talking women of color?
I think sisterhood is kind of defined by the beholder. I think that for some Black women, it is just Black women. I think that there's a lot of nuance, when we think about the kind of sisters that we trust, right? And so I think
Hmm.
for a lot of Black women, that can be just Black women. For some women, it can be women of color as a whole, or,
Hmm.
women of the global majority. A lot of folks like to identify, self-identifying women. So that includes
Hmm.
trans women as well. And so I think that everyone has to kind of define sisterhood for themselves.
Okay, you have had over 15 years of clinical experiences. You address intersection of love, identity, and empowerment while challenging cultural narratives that often shape women's views on relationship. Okay, what inspired you to focus your coaching on single women of color? I thought it was of color. Well, it is. Everybody's colored. So right. And how does your background influence this work?
Yeah. So Her Soul Supply, that is my coaching platform for single women of color, and that is a space where I am using education, I'm using travel, I'm using sisterhood and community as ways for me to communicate and fulfill, or just help women get to a place where they can feel fulfillment that does not center or depend on romance. Not to say that, we're not in support of relationships. We are, if that is a path that people want in their lives. But to really help refocus the desire around happiness to be more holistic and not just centered around romantic partnership, which is something that often women find at a certain age. If they're not partnered, or if they're divorced, or maybe perhaps they've been single for a long time, if you're not on this kind of relationship escalator, as I like to call it, sometimes we don't really know where to go, or we don't feel seen, or often we're really shamed for not having certain things. And so Her Soul Supply is a place in which women can be more educated about how to really find the path that's unique for them and empowering for them, and do it amongst other women who are going through the same and want to build those deeper connections.
But you're not saying don't get married, no family. You when you say just sisterhood.
No, yeah, I'm not someone that's going to define your path. I'm there to help guide you in you defining your path. And so that is what makes me more of a women's empowerment coach, instead of saying like I am a dating coach, because I'm not actually teaching you how to date. I connect with dating coaches. I connect with women who are helping women achieve that goal, but that's almost something that you have to define for yourself as something that you need, instead of it, being this is how you need to live your life. Because when you really think about it, women are coming to this space because they're used to being told how they should be living their lives. And they either don't agree, or it hasn't happened for them, or they've focused on their careers or other parts of their lives that have been incredibly fulfilling. And the puzzle pieces aren't fitting, at least not the way that we were told that they should fit, right? And so, when women come to me, they don't need someone else to tell them how to live their lives, but they do
Hmm.
need someone that's going to inspire them to kind of clear the path that they've always needed for themselves, and not waiting for a romantic partner to pave that way for them. And so that's why I'm never going to sit here and say you shouldn't get married or you shouldn't date men, but I'm going to help them understand why it's not their fault that they may not be married. It's not their fault that, that there's something uh, that people don't find digestible about them, right? That, there are actually systems at play, especially for women of color, especially for Black women, that are actually at play, that tend to rub up against the things that actually make us amazing. And so I'm there to kind of empower women to kind of be in their, like, step into their own power, step into their own leadership, because the world is set up for, girls and women to listen to other people, to be told what to do or what to like. And so I'm there to help them undo that, and help them understand why that is, and then give them the tools to build that new path for themselves. And that could be marriage, that could be family, it could be kids, it could be anything. I think what's most important for me, and what my goal is that I want women to be able to define that for themselves, because they're going to go out in the world and they're going to live their life, right? And so they should live that confidently, knowing why they're doing what they're doing, and to be able to protect that for themselves. That doesn't happen when you're just told what to do.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful way of looking at life. And it should be looked at that way. Today I had a little, it's called a dose of healing words. And it was about bravery of women in the Bible. And we
Mm,
were we was talking to Naomi, and the strength that women has, and it started long before right now. It's not real time. It And right now, you're helping women to be empowered. Am I right?
Mhm.
For who,
Yeah,
for who they are.
exactly. Yeah, I think sometimes when we get through life, when we are in our 30s, 40s, right? Sometimes we forget that because
Mm.
we've gone through an entire childhood and early adulthood where a path has been kind of assigned to us. And so we're not always practicing those skills that make us feel empowered. And so when things go awry or they're not on the path that they should be or that we expect them to be, we feel disempowered.
Well, I do have to say, as children growing up and teenagers growing up, someone is directing your path. I mean, God
Mhm.
direct all of our path. So
Mhm.
when you get to the age of that you're speaking of, you're saying that women are already confused because of what the way they grew, the way they came up, somebody making decisions for them.
Well, I think sometimes we are not raised to build the right tools to think critically about our needs. Not to say that parents aren't doing their best. I think parents are doing what they can with what they know. But I think that by default, children, right, people under 18, right, like they don't have rights. They don't have certain rights. They don't have the ability to really tap into advocating for themselves. They're not necessarily taught to advocate for themselves, right, unless a parent takes an interest to or a mentor takes interest to, right? And so when you have perhaps a certain upbringing that encourages to be quiet or to be deferential, or to be a certain way based on your gender, right? And I'm talking about young girls, right? If you've got an older brother, if you are expected to kind of be seen and not heard, at what point are you practicing your independence? At what point are you practicing how to advocate for yourself? And so a lot of us have had a similar kind of upbringing in varying ways, right? Some more independent than others. But I think that once we then jump into adulthood, are we completely equipped with those skills, or does it kind of hit us like a ton of bricks at some point and realize, oh, like how did I end up in this kind of relationship, or I don't know what I like. I just do what people want to do with me, or I'm just happy to be here. And you
Okay.
really want to be able to define those things for yourself so that you can see what you actually want in your life.
Okay, but there's a fine line right there because
Mm,
you have parents who
mhm,
God gave us parents to
mhm,
make sure that we choose right for
mhm,
ourselves and
mhm,
to also make sure that we have what we need until we get to that age of maturity.
mhm,
Now, there's a lot of young people that are wanting to do as you said and have a choice in the matter.
mhm,
And I think that that's okay. But bottom line should be the parents' choice
mhm,
in it, and or not. Or if you don't, then there's nobody in the household that's going to be able to say yay or nay because everybody got an opinion, and you'll never. So, what I'm asking, are you saying that the parents should not have the last word? Just that the young person should have an opinion?
I think that parents should create environments in their home that encourage critical thinking. And I think that sometimes there are households that are so authoritarian
Mm.
that everything is black and white. It's either yes, no, good, or bad. and there's no real challenge to interrogate why things are the way they are, why it makes sense for one kid and maybe not the other, why your parents feel the way that they feel. And a lot of kids don't get those answers. They're just told to obey. And I think that that becomes a real missed opportunity to build the kind of skills that would be helpful in adulthood, right? Going back to what you're saying about how parents are leading the children, they're preparing them for the real world. And we know very much as adult women, right? The real world is very gray. It's not black and white, right? Good things happen to bad people all the time, right? Bad things happen to good people all the time, right? All of these ideals of things being very black, right, white, good, evil, that is a lot more blurry when you become an adult because you start to understand that there's layers to a lot of things and you have to learn how to navigate the world in that gray. And I think that parents can practice creating they can parents can create an environment in their households where they have children practice that even if they do have the final say, right? Because it's one, an opportunity for kids to learn that skill of how to think more critically instead of just doing what they're told to do. But it also gives parents the opportunity to get to know their child, to actually understand
I mean, I'm gonna
who
let
is
you
my
talk for a
child.
minute. You talk for a minute, I'm about to lose my power.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on, but go ahead, honey. Keep talking about what you're saying.
okay. Am I still here? Okay. I don't see
Yes,
myself on the screen. Okay, I'll just keep talking.
yes.
Um, but as I was saying, I think that it is a missed opportunity to get to know who your child is, right? When you don't encourage critical thinking or open thinking or exploration of thought. Um, and I think it really doesn't prepare kids for the reality of what it is to have an adulthood in which they are completely autonomous and able to choose their own path. And so, because that's not happening regularly, we tend to follow the same patterns, right? That we either see our parents doing or our mentors. And in some ways, it can be good if those were good behaviors or protective factors that were modeled. But also, as humans, like not every pattern is healthy. Not every pattern comes from a healthy place. And we don't want to perpetuate those things, right? We want to be able to stop the cycles that don't serve us as a community. And that starts with, what children see in their families.
Sorry, I have one hand, baby, and I pull this out, and this is going to. um, You go ahead, can you please keep talking?
Okay. It looks like the recording has also been it's no longer recording, so I didn't know if that was an issue at all. Um, but
Okay,
yeah, oh,
all right. We good. We good.
we
And
good?
I'm watching the time. Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Forgive me, everyone, but they're kind of used to me having technical difficulties. But we back. Okay. So I understand what you mean. Do you have children?
I do. I have a 5-year-old daughter.
Oh, beautiful. And so, have you found, is there a time where that's what, kindergarten?
Kindergarten.
She, oh, so she hadn't really gotten into the kind of where she's gonna make some choices where to do or not to do. Whatever you have already told her is what she's going to lean on when she
Mm.
gets in school.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I think that there are definitely things that are at her age appropriate level that she has choices, right?
Mm.
I think that's a big part of the way that my husband and I have are raising her is that we don't believe in being completely authoritarian. She knows that we have the last word. She knows that we are really the
Oh,
deciders of what happens. However,
okay.
we do practice um asking her what she thinks should be done,
Okay,
right? And
but still you're gonna have
mhm,
the last word. But that's good
mhm,
because it gives her an opportunity to voice her opinion.
mhm,
Then you know where her mind is.
mhm,
If they're not allowed to say what's on their heart and mind, then they're gonna keep it bottled in and they're gonna ask the wrong person because
yeah,
they can't ask you.
mhm,
So I'm with you on that. I am. Uh, I just from the baby boomers until now, there are so many people who are don't know how to even ask for something that they really want or be a part of something without asking somebody else's opinion. Is that what you
mhm.
mean?
Yeah, and I think that there can be really unhealthy repercussions to that when it comes to self-esteem and the kind of decisions that we make from that place of confidence or lack of confidence.
Well, can you share a success story from one of your clients that highlight the transformational power of embracing singlehood?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I had a client who came to me after a breakup, and they really wanted to build their confidence again after a breakup. They felt like they didn't have many friends, they were quite isolated. Um, they didn't want to spend much time with their family because their family really liked their ex partner and didn't really understand why it wasn't working out. But the reality was that my client had experienced a lot of emotional abuse, that there was a lot of power imbalance in the relationship that she didn't feel comfortable with. Um, she often felt like she was a kind of like a not a trophy, but an object, right?
Mhm.
Like he had ticked a box by having her, right? But didn't necessarily see her as this equal partner that they were going to grow a life with. That she felt more like he said he wanted those things, but he was treating her more like the vehicle that he needed to get to where he needed to be, which might be fatherhood, which might be getting some kind of clout for being a married man, a family man, or whatever. But that there was clearly this imbalance happening. And she ended up being the whistleblower. She ended up calling it out and, recognizing that things were not okay. And when she was really confronting and trying to address her issue, um, he left, right? He didn't really fight for that. He didn't want things to be better. Um, and that left her really heartbroken because she had sacrificed a lot to make this relationship work. And I think that's where our work really began, and her having to understand that, it takes more than one person to have a successful relationship,
Yeah.
right? And I think there's definitely a lot of internal things that we can evaluate about, the ways in which we enable, or, we maybe turn a blind eye to certain things, right? Or we let things happen longer than they need to. Um, and even some of the ways that we contribute to issues that didn't make things better, right? And I think that that's our own internal work, and we did a lot of that work about what are the ways that we show up in healthy relationships, right?
Mhm.
But
You
I
know,
also think, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
I think the next part of that has been the kind of interpersonal relationship stuff in terms of recognizing what a healthy balance of power looks like in relationships, how to build trust, how to build confidence, how to build community again, and then how to maintain that as a fulfilling form of really a lifestyle, right? How do we then turn that into service and give that back and become the kind of women that we want younger girls to be, right? I think that that's a big part of my mission is that I started this business, after my daughter was born because I knew that I wanted her to grow up in a world where she was around a lot of women that were living their best lives and not just kind of these very, very traditional ideas of what women were, which is basically a grown up version of a girl, right? Of being quiet and being submissive and being a people pleaser and doing everything in service of everybody else but herself. And I didn't want that for her because I knew I didn't want that for me. But I also knew that there were a lot of cultural and systemic systems at play that encourage girls to be that. And so her soul supply is all about educating women on how to not do that anymore.
Wow. So you saying even in this time
Mm.
that there are still a lot of women who's being submissive in only because they think that that's what they should do, and that's how they can get what they need or want is by being submissive even today.
I think so. I think that a modern day evolution of that we see a little more clearly is the notion of people pleasing, right?
Okay.
When you really think
Mhm.
about, in my therapy practice, I work specifically with firstborn daughters. And I really work in the intersection of birth order and trauma. And I work a lot with firstborn daughters because they tend to be the ones that manage the brunt of a lot of the family trauma and dysfunction, right?
Mhm.
And a firstborn daughter can be anything. She doesn't have to be the firstborn, but she can be the eldest girl that tends to get things done.
Mhm.
Even if she might be the youngest in the family, for some reason, this idea of the first girl, you are kind of automatically voluntold
Yes.
that you are kind of the emotional stability and compass of the family, right? You're supposed to be the one that passes on the family morals, the standards, right? And so when you grow up in a family that doesn't encourage you to speak up, right? Or that only rewards you for doing the things that they want you to do all of the time, right? It's very easy to become a people pleaser. It's very easy to believe that your only value is what you're able to provide for others
Well,
because they're not really flexing another muscle.
let me ask you, first of all, I wrote the book, Healing Words, Speaking Life into the Generation. And part of that book, there's young women who, not young, not, I can't even, they're not women yet, but they are engaging in womanly going to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And, but you don't know anything about this person that you getting ready to take a risk that could end up in pregnancy, and you don't even know what does that person want, what kind of life, what does he dream, does he have a purpose that he's already thinking about. Because when you get pregnant and you have a baby with this, you're tied. Now, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to stay with them, but there's always a tie because you both
Mm-hmm.
have a child.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were talking about uh, women, girls, and not knowing who they are yet before they get into these relationships, it took two and it takes two. And so by me saying that, usually after the first two, sometimes you don't even hear or see that person again. And so women, young and older, need to do exactly what you're saying. They have to find out who they are
Mhm.
before they get into these relationships that could maybe change the trajectory of what they really want to do in life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Am I getting close to what you're saying?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, I think that, we have to remember biology, right? And how
Mm.
our prefrontal cortex is not even developed completely until I think we're about 21 years old, right? And so when you're
Yes,
thinking
that's right.
about like young girls, and you're thinking about like teenage girls, right? They're actually not completely developed mentally yet. Which is why I think a lot of the stereotypical characteristics of a teenage girl is like impulsivity and, isn't necessarily thinking ahead or is very hormonal and, acts out. And I think that there are things that are very developmentally appropriate about that. You also mentioned sex, which, I think is a very layered topic, um, because I would be really interested in finding out how these girls think about what sex is and what the function of sex is. And I wouldn't be surprised if that answer was different for each of them.
Oh,
And I
will
think
be.
that and I think that that definitely defines more of where they're at in terms of what their needs are and how they fulfill those needs.
Well, and as I said, I think that they also need to know this person that they are going to possibly, because you're going to change,
Mhm.
especially if it's the first time.
Mhm.
And usually, I don't know, this age may be different, but girls kind of fall in real deep when
Mhm.
it's the first time.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
there's a lot of passion there,
yeah,
right? And I
yeah,
think that when we think about young girls engaging in sex, I think that we need to really think about, again, like what it means to them, what they
hmm,
feel they are attracted to, right? And understanding um where they're coming from in that way, right?
yes. Well, I know you have to make a hard stop. And so I know you're coming back. You are coming back, and we are going to take over where we end today. And I love what you're doing with these with all women. There's no age that cannot benefit from what you're doing.
Mhm.
And when I talk about healing words, they that's what you're doing. Healing words. When you're talking to them, you're giving them a healing of effect. And so keep doing it. I am a healing word life coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do. Okay, give us your last before you have to go.
Yeah, and so people can follow me at Her Soul Supply. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. You can go to my website, hersoulsupply.com, and there you can sign up to my newsletter, where I give kind of more in-depth tips and thoughts about single women of color. Um, I have some freebies on my website, some free guides that you can also sign up for on trust, building confidence. combating loneliness, which I know is something that a lot of people are dealing with. So they can go to my website to get a lot of those things. And I would like to announce that I have a monthly live masterclass that I have that's virtual. It's
Mm.
called Single, Empowered, and Free. And
Oh.
that is where we have a live group discussion with other single women of color talking about all of those systems that I mentioned that impact the way they feel about not being good enough as single women. So we talk about racism and sexism and the patriarchy and beauty standards and all of these things that really contribute to how we feel. And so it's your chance to kind of get together with other women that are going through it too and really kickstart this path that you need for yourself that's not centering romance and your happiness.
And you say you have it once a month. Is there a date on it?
Yeah, so they're usually on Mondays. I usually go for the third Monday of every month. The next one is coming up May 19th. But if you
Oh,
sign up for the newsletter or you follow me on social media, you'll also be reminded about the next one coming. So I encourage folks to come to the website and sign up for the live masterclass.
all right. All right. I pray that today was better than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow. I pray that tomorrow will bring forth a double portion of blessing in a form of opportunity. And what did Fanny just give us all an opportunity on May 19th to come to her master class. And that's it for today, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Thank you,
Mm,
Fanny.
yes, happy to be here.
All right. Okay. You can go, baby. If I know it's time. All right, everybody. This is it. This is it. Tomorrow I will be here more than likely by myself. I'm so sorry about the mess up with the cord. It wasn't in all the way. And as I was telling Fanny that I am a healing word life coach, and healing word is it's rooted in trust. It's healing words when received. The receiver have the ability to initiate and counteract the negative effects of past experiences and conditioning, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. Healing words are designed to penetrate deep into the core of a person's being. It's rooted in the idea that words hold significant power. By reversing the negative conditioning that society often imposes, healing words can instill a sense of freedom and respect. They encourage individuals to redefine their understanding of self worth and healing, breaking free from the harmful beliefs that may cause suffering. Let me tell you, healing words. God let me know that there will not be a generational turnaround until we heal, until we heal the children, the teenagers, the moms, dads, village elders, foster moms, grandmoms, moms, everyone. We have to heal this land. We have to heal our country. And so God made it very clear. I had taken up life coaching 2 years ago, but I didn't really get into it, but I love the concept. And now I know why, because God was waiting for this moment when He'd given me healing words. And so I am a healing word life coach. You can get in touch with me, book a free, and we can talk. We can book a free discovery class, 15 minutes, and let's see if we are a match. So my email is info at activate your faith LLC.com. Let's get together. There's a lot of healing that we need to do. And if you're a person that knows that you want to learn how to use healing words, I just wrote a book. The name of it, Discover the Effect of Healing Words. And if you become a client of mine, you will get a copy of that free. So, all right, hold on. Wait a minute. It's time. And I will be back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but whatever it is, it's going to be substantial and it's going to be purposeful and it's going to be faith driven. So I know all of you out there are faith driven and you're tired of going through the same old, same old. Let's get together with healing words. Let's speak life in the generations. All right. Good night. Good evening. Good night. See you tomorrow. Please come back tomorrow. Like, share, and help me get my subscriptions up so that I can continue to share what God gives me.